Hey, what's up? I'm packing for Key West and Fort Myers. Got 10 bags behind me. I think I'm taking 12 lenses with me. That stuff is really good. That makes you fat too. Looks like a tiny lens on a D3, doesn't it? 20mm Voigtlander. Manual focus. Why you should embrace the manual focus lens? Oh, technology. Gee. Yeah, right, technology. Maybe you could throw all your cameras into continuous high, and I know a couple of people that do this. Everything in autofocus, continuous tracking, and you could just sit there and machine gun it. Spray and pray. Oh yeah, that one shot out of 100. That's a good one. And if I crop it a little bit and twist it a little bit, and oh, what does a deliberate lens mean? First off, let's start by saying something that I absolutely hate. I've always hated this because it is such bullshit. Bullshit. It's something that Pecker would say. Yeah, I said Pecker would. That's a southern saying. Europeans and Australians won't get that. So what's a Pecker wood? Pecker Wood's a dumbass. Things that Pecker would say. Especially when it comes to photography. I've got my own shooting range, by the way. It's only about 8 acres of land. It's very beautiful. I take people down there, give them shooting lessons, at least I used to. A really good shot. And I used to give archery lessons at an outfitter's retail store. We actually had an indoor shooting range, and I was a 5-spot champion. I give people shooting lessons, and some of these old shooters have been, they're up in age, and they're like, well, I hear you do great things for people. I'm going to give it a shot anyway. Yeah, but I've been shooting for 20 years, and you can't teach me shit. And sometimes I'd say that, but they kind of act that way anyway, whether they said it or not. And I teach them some stuff about floating and loose accuracy, which actually improves accuracy. It's just a methodology. But the notion that practice, here's something that Pecker would say, practice makes perfect. And that is just such bullshit. Practice does not make perfect. What does make you perfect, and perfection, of course, is an unobtainable goal for anybody. The point is to get better and to be at a level where people appreciate your work or you appreciate yourself. And the point is that perfect practice makes perfect. A lot of these guys, shooting applies to shooting with this thing too. These guys go to the shooting range and they'll take God knows how many thousands of rounds. Sometimes people will shoot like 2,000 rounds every weekend, which isn't really that much, believe it or not. Europeans are like, what the hell are you talking about? You crazy ass Americans will go out and shoot 2,000 rounds on a weekend of ammunition? What sort of crazy crap is that? That's actually pretty normal. That's not abnormal at all. They'll go out there and they'll shoot and shoot and shoot and shoot, and they think that that's going to get them better, and it doesn't. And what gets you better is to actually improve your skills and methodology and have forethought in what you're doing. A recently deceased actor, he took a ride in this real high-end sports car. He was one of those Fast and Furious actors. I forget what the hell his name was, some pretty boy. And, he got behind the wheel and the car was just too much for him. And when he floored it, that thing just shot off like a crotch rocket. And it killed his ass, and it's because it was too much. You got to have the skills. You have to develop the muscle memory and have the non-cognitive processing down before you can actually improve your speed. First you build accuracy, then you improve speed. And the same is true in photography. You throw everything in autofocus, continuous autofocus, let me stick my camera on continuous high. Let's shoot about 8 frames per second, which is, you need for action in sports. You need it, you need it. That's fine. But we'll do that shooting landscapes. I'm gonna shoot that squirrel up there in the tree. Oh my God. Practice does not make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. So talking about why you need a manual lens. Okay, this is a manual lens, obviously. It's a Voigtlander. It's a Zeiss, a Voigtlander. It could be an older Nikkor AIAS. Or even a current one you throw in manual mode. What is a deliberate lens? A deliberate lens means that you deliberate over your composition. I mean, if you're a painter, I think there was some Three Stooges episode where one of the Stooges is, they mistake, I love the Three Stooges too, by the way, I love to laugh. They were mistaken as famous painters, and so they had to crank out all these paintings. So they got tired of painting, so what they did is they made abstract art. They'd load up a shotgun with paint, and they'd sit there and they'd blast the canvas, and they'd bring over another blank canvas, and pow! They pour some paint down the barrel of the shotgun, and pow! And, you know, the same thing is true of photography. You know, it's supposed to be art. You know, you got to throw it in autofocus, continuous high. For action and sports, which is a necessity, as the Greeks would call it ananke, which really means a lot more than necessity, but discussing that would take hours and hours. If you have to do it, you have to do it. If you don't, then you need to start deliberating over what you're doing. Throw your camera in manual focus, start spot metering so you understand what you're exposing for. Perfect practice is what makes perfect, okay? Not practice. Lots and lots of practice only means that you've done a lot of practice. It doesn't mean you've gotten any damn better. And I've given enough archery lessons and enough shooting lessons, and the same thing applies in photography. Practice does not make perfect. And I hate it when people say that because it is effing not true. It is a damn lie. It doesn't make you better. It does very, very little bit. But everything is about what goes on between your ears here. And you have to deliberate. Okay, manual focus lens, start spot metering, taking it slow. You can build up speed later, and in most cases you don't need speed anyway. You know, if you just want to throw your camera into continuous high and spray and pray everything, pray and spray over everything, then you're not going to get any better. And there's some woman who buys a new Canon. She's rich, and I know of her. She buys a new Canon camera, one of the expensive Pro models, like every 6 months or something. And she could actually have the shutter replaced, but she just gets a new one because she's rich, I guess. But she shoots everything in continuous high. She just goes out there. Oh Lord. You know, and one shot out of 100, you know, or whatever it is, might come out fine after you crop it and adjust it in Photoshop. But start deliberating. You know, it's called deliberate lens for a reason. And think about what you're doing. And God, if another person tells me practice makes perfect, I'm going to choke you. Just kidding.